Hello, everybody. Welcome to SportsSkope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this Thursday, December 16th, 9 days away from Christmas. Good game here. Got a little bit of a late start. Usually don't even do the show when I'm in that kind of traffic here. Rainy day here in Nashville, Tennessee, under a lot of traffic jams. I don't know if people are crazy or whatever, or a little bit stressed out about the holidays, but my carrier day job, I tell you, I get behind a lot of traffic. Going to get into the games to watch this week. Texas A&M got the number one class so far. Early signing day was coming in this week. I want to say it was Wednesday. Very good recruits there. The top prospect goes to Jackson State. Travis Hunter with Deion Sanders. So what does that mean? There is some speculation, according to Jason Whitlock, that there is a payment, like some type of $1 million deal with the number one recruit in the country from Barstool Sports, who's connected to Deion Sanders, and got this player to go to Jackson State, and everybody's panicking. I'll get into that. But first, let's get into Urban Meyer. You hear all this stuff, and we talked about this Tuesday. Now he's been fired from the team. Maybe, I guess, the other kicking Josh Lambo back in August. Maybe that coming to light, hit it over the top. I don't know. Or maybe push it over the top with Mr. Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I'll say this. You're starting to get all this blowback, like this guy is the most worst coach of all time. What an idiotic hire. Guys like Louis Riddick, so many more people qualified from Get Up, former player. I want to say he also worked in management in NFL. Saying this was such a big deal and all this. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, why do you think Khan hired him over an Eric Bieniemy, a coordinator who's never been a head coach, or Brian DeBall, another coordinator who can't run the football with Buffalo? Bieniemy's the offensive coordinator at Kansas City. I don't know. Maybe because he's the third best coach in the NFL or in the college winning percentage in the history of the game, the absolute history of college football. He's got a higher winning percentage than Dabo Swinney, than Nick Saban. What did Trevor Lawrence say? I don't know. I didn't really catch what he said. Oh, he is third all time behind only Newt Rockne and a guy named Frank Leahy in winning percentage in college football. Those were guys from the 40s and the 50s with Notre Dame football. Maybe that's why. And have you guys ever seen the spread being run in the NFL on Monday night between the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams? Maybe that because that came from the college game. That's why he was hired, because of your coordinators in the league are often retreads, and quite frankly, they get fired often too. They're not really head coaching material. If I'm an owner of a team, I want to try something innovative. If you guys watch the Baltimore Ravens, I do. What they do there, that is a college-like scheme. RPO, run read option. That's just a fancy word for saying the option, which is ran at Army. So this idea that these college coaches bring nothing to the table is the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. And the media is all over him because he's the big bad wolf. And I do think that coaches need to be more respectful towards players and everything. I do get that. But this idea that this was just such a bad, and then you get people like Adam Scheffler. he puts out coaches who didn't work from college, guys like Steve Spurrier and Butch Davis and Nick Saban. And there's all different reasons for these guys not working. You know, Nick Saban couldn't get Drew Brees. Steve Spurrier, they made him the general manager and the head coach. What about Pete Carroll? He worked. You ever heard of Bill Walsh? I just found out today that he was a college coach, Pickles. You know, Jimmy Johnson won a couple of Super Bowls. Pete Carroll. So this idea, and plus, again, look at all the new concepts that they're in the NFL. So I'm just answering the question that the mainstream media and your mainstream sports people won't talk about with this. This is why he was hired. Because he wanted, Khan wanted Urban, who's won everywhere in Bowling Green. So this idea that he's an idiot and he don't win everywhere, what's Bowling Green doing now? Ohio State's not in it now, are they? Florida just fired another coach, didn't they? Okay. Now, the difference between college and pro, it's like, our former president. He is a former entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He's used to being the only guy in charge. He don't want to deal with legislation. He don't want to deal with Congress. You're kind of like a dictator. You're kind of like a business owner in college. In the NFL, you have to deal with the general manager. You have to deal with the owner. You have to have the salary cap. You have to deal with players who are making sometimes as much or more money than you are. There's more details to the pro game that you have to deal with than the college game. The college game, you are everything. The AD just steps out of the way and collects checks if you're winning, not unless you're, violating NCAA rules. And now that's not even a big deal because you got the NIL. It's a Wild West right now, So that's why Mr. Khan took the chance. And I don't blame him. I would take a chance on another college thing. I just thought he knew better than anyone else. And this was not long league. Got to be humble. Yeah, he's a very cocky guy. A lot of these guys, they come in here very arrogant, not wanting to listen to anybody. And that's another thing. That's another point. Good transition. Somewhat. Another point I wanted to make, Brian. I was rushed today, but I did want to make this. Urban Meyer is 57. He's still pretty young. Nick Saban's 69. 15 years ago, when he was winning in Florida, when he first started coming to Florida, 2004, 2005, those years, that guy was in his early 40s. He's just a few years older than I am now. And he's getting extension after extension, bonus after bonus because he's winning like nobody's business. Again, for his era, he's at the highest winning percentage. He won 2 national championships during that 5-year period. He got a lot of money. So what does that mean? He don't feel like he has to answer to nobody. He owned that bar in Columbus, Ohio. So he's a guy that doesn't really feel like he don't really have to work. There's no telling what he's worth. I read something he's $40 million, worth 40. There's no telling what kind of ongoing endorsements he's got. That, like I said, he's got that restaurant. He's got businesses. He made it really young for a coach. That's pretty young still. I mean, now it seems like it's not really that young, but for then, he was a lot. He don't want to listen to anybody about anything. He don't care if you catch him in a lie. He don't care if you fire. He didn't care about getting fired about this job. He's going to fight this guy over this money, but he's not going to lose any sleep if he don't win. So that kind of arrogance persona. Same thing with Steve Spurrier. Would I hire this guy to coach my college team? Absolutely. I know he's only going to be there about 4 or 5 years. They're going to win big. He'll burn himself out. That was my prediction from the get-go. The biggest issue was, Trevor Lawrence. He's not getting rid of the ball quick enough. I think he should have got another year at least to adjust his offensive staff to get rid of the football quicker. And he was just getting too much pushback. I don't know his side of the story. Maybe he will tell his side of the story at some point. But that was what I would have done. But, the stuff about kicking it, I mean, did he really kick the player or did he nudge the player? I don't believe you should ever talk to anybody. So I think that he'll get a TV job here next year. He'll get probably another college job. I mean, I'm at a Tennessee area. I would take him over Josh Heupel any day of the week, even with this baggage. I'd still take John Gruden. Hey, forgive me, I'm sorry. But at least Gruden's a little bit more sincere than Urban Meyer. I mean, we don't even know if Urban Meyer's name is Urban Meyer. But again, so I think somebody put out this list. I think this is from Football Focus's coaches to be available. Biggest names out there that maybe Jacksonville or the Raiders will go for. Okay, Eric Bieniemy, possibly, never been a head coach before. But look who else they mentioned. Todd Bowles, he's a retread. He was fired from the Jets. Josh McDaniels, he was fired from Denver and went back. And then he did a little crazy stunt with the Colts and backed out and went back to New England. So I don't know if I'd want to go with Josh McDaniels. Keelan Moore, I mean, he's only been a coordinator for 2 years. Give me a break. Brian Leftwich is the offensive coordinator for Tampa. He's working with Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time. Who's coaching who? I like Brian Leftwich, but I'm not going to hire him for this job. I don't know what he's done. I don't know his resume. It's just like the guy who hired for the Jets a couple of years ago. Only reason that he got his big gig because he's working with Peyton Manning as an offensive coordinator with Denver. Just working with Peyton Manning. Peyton's really the coach on the field. And then the last one they put out, Brian the Ball. They can't run the football in Buffalo. He's the offensive coordinator for Buffalo. So will I take a chance on another college coach over these guys? Yeah, sure. I may go after Bieniemy since he has it. But last but not least, they did say Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl as a head coach. Now we find out that Philadelphia's owner, Jeffrey Lurie, was micromanaging him the whole time, asking him to go over every single play at the end of every single game the next week ahead of time. Okay, if I'm Mr. Doug Peterson, I say, let me tell you something, Mr. Lurie. If you want to coach this team, coach this team. I'm not going over every single play with you. You go coach the team yourself, Mr. Lurie. But Doug Peterson would probably be the guy I would take out of these people. And then second, possibly Bieniemy. He hasn't been a head coach before. But these other guys, especially not Josh McDaniels. He's already had 2 shots, and it simply didn't work out. But, it is what it is with Urban Meyer. He'll be fine. He'll get another job in TV somewhere. And Jacksonville, I would imagine, if I'm Mr. Khan, I wouldn't take the big woke thing and just pick somebody who will make me look better as a public relation type of deal. I would actually go after a really good coach as one, and I wouldn't care about what other people think of me. It's no big deal if they were. What if they were 11-2? Do you think he would be fired if they were 11-2 for allegedly kicking a player, nudging a player? I mean, if he really kicked that guy hard, don't you think that would have came out after he'd been cut like the next day? Don't you think somebody else would have saw it and jumped on him? Of course, even though if it is a kicker. Nick Saban was separated. A guy was separated from him in Miami. He's going to punch him in the mouth, But I don't know. I just think that, and it was probably the last straw. I get it. So, anywho, switching gears here, everybody. But my thing is, yes, I do think that there is a place for college coaches in the NFL. All right? All righty then. Predictions, early chaos. Okay. There was National Signing Day. I was going to make it the early rankings for the college signing day had like Georgia number 1, Alabama number 2, Texas A&M number 3, and I was going to make a point that A&M should have the number 1 team in the country because they got like 5 players in the top 10. And then it switched. Now I don't have to do that. According to 24/7, which kind of like Real Clear Politics, they do a combination of the best, all the recruiting sites, your Rivals, your ESPN, your Scout.com, and they put them into one. It's called 24/7 Sports, and they've got Texas A&M as the number 1 team in the country, and they should have the number 1 recruiting class in the country. Like I said, they got like 5 players in the top 10 with the top 10 overall players. And I haven't seen that. Last time I seen a class like this was Georgia 3 years ago. And now they're in the playoff, and they probably should have been undefeated, possibly playing for a national championship game. Yeah, prime time. Deion Sanders, the number 1 overall player, went to Jackson State. Deion Sanders got Travis Hunter. He was committed to Florida State with Mike Norvell. Deion Sanders turned that commitment to Jackson State. Now there's rumblings and reports that Barstool Sports with the NIL deal, who's connected to Deion, is paying this guy like $1 million for go from Jackson State, or go from Florida State to Jackson State. You've got guys like Clemson's Dabo Swinney. He's sounding off on this. It's not about this is what Dabo said. It's chaos out here right now. Tampering galore. Adults manipulating young men. Education is the last thing right now. Come on, love you, Dabo. Give me a break, man. Like you really care about education. Even Lane Kiffin's saying this is like NFL free agency. This is insane in the membrane. And I'm thinking to myself, Lane Kiffin, if you had the guys to pay the money to go to Ole Miss, you would have those players pay their Ole Miss $50,000 per offensive lineman to go to University of Texas, and Texas is not even in the top 5. Again, here it is. This is Brett McMurphy. This is updated. Here's your top 10. A&M, Alabama, number 2 class, Georgia, number 3, Ohio State, number 4, Texas, number 5, and Penn State, number 6, Notre Dame, 7, North Carolina, 8, 9, Michigan, University of Oklahoma, 10, University of Kentucky, 11. Okay, so what does that sound like? I don't know. It sounds the same to me as it was last year, except Texas A&M is first instead of third. But this is what I told you guys that was going to happen. Brian, you heard me. Pickles, you guys watch my show just about every night. I said this is going to be, and I talked about this with Mac and Jack several months ago. This is going to be the shock theory. This is going to be, oh my God, everybody panic. This is the big Wild West chaos. This is part of the process that I said that was going to happen. There's going to be a lot of fear going out there, a lot of unknown. I think that schools, players, coaches will adjust. You would adapt or you die. Clemson, I notice, is not in here. So Clemson's down to 16th. What did I say on Tuesday's program? Clemson, Dabo Swinney needs to talk to his agent. I know they don't look good for coaches for college going to the NFL right now. But if I'm Dabo Swinney, he's made a lot of money already. Clemson's paid this guy a ton. He's got 2 national championships. He's got a really good reputation, much better reputation than the Urban Meyer. But I know he's not perfect either. I would put my hat in the ring for an NFL job. He's lost his athletic director over there at Clemson. He's lost his offensive coordinator over at Clemson. His defense, I think it's his offensive coordinator's at Virginia right now. His defensive coordinator is the head coach of Brett Venables of Oklahoma. He needs and now he's got the 16th ranked recruiting class in the country. He's been having top 5, top 10 for the last several years. So he's got to pivot and move on. Either that, or he's going to have to talk to some of these boosters and have them come up with an NIL deal to make some money. And yes, Pickles says Texas has the deepest pockets in America, and that is correct. That is correct. Texas A&M have the largest endowment in the country, according to Forbes magazine. This was years before the NIL even came out. This is going to be a big deal. I told you guys, quite frankly, Texas A&M was close anyways. You know, they beat Alabama this year. Their starting quarterback was hurt. I called for them to get to the SEC championship game and knock out Alabama. I was right about them beating Alabama. Their starting quarterback got hurt in the Colorado game. If not for that, I think they beat Arkansas. They beat Ole Miss. And we already know they beat Alabama. And they would have played for the national in the SEC. And I think they probably would have beaten Georgia as Alabama did. And they would be in the playoff hunt to win a national championship. That being said, I do think that they will, mark my word, probably 2 years from now, this team will play, well, it's still December, but 2022 will be their freshman year. 2024, these kids will be juniors. Jimbo Fisher will have these guys playing probably for a national championship. This is probably why that Oklahoma coach, their Lincoln Riley, went out west because he's thinking, man, if Texas A&M is doing this, I've got LSU with Brian Kelly. We still got Nick Saban, Georgia, and he knows he's coming to the SEC 2025, maybe a little bit before that. He's like, man, I need to get out of here and go out to USC, maybe get some more recruitment money, some NIL money to help it out. So it is a whole different animal. Yeah, all that damn oil money. Show me the money. Now you got tech money out west. So guy like Nick Saban, he's so good at what he does. He's going to adapt to this. He will overcome. I do expect the cream to still be at the top. Again, the teams look the same right now. It doesn't really, other than Texas, they got a number 5 class in A&M. But A&M has been top 5 in the last few years anyways, guys. So that is my take on that. We're going to see how this thing would, people ask me, was Deion Sanders going to wait this thing out? Probably not. I think he'll probably go to a Power 5. Love to go to Florida State if Mike Norvell don't start winning there. It's a big negative against Mike Norvell at Florida State for losing the number 1 player in the country, Travis Hunter there, who's now going to Jackson. So I think it's interesting. I expect this big panic from coaches. I think they will adapt. Joy Taylor from the college coverage, she said maybe they should get a commissioner for college football and maybe put some limitations on how much teams can get the NIL. Maybe that can cause some legal that could cause another legal mess. Either way, it's good to see the kids get paid. I don't think it's going to run their education. I don't think they're going to not work for anything. They've worked for it already. If they run out of the money and they get hurt, they can always go back to college and start from the ground up. You'll probably hear a horror story where a guy gets, in a bad car wreck in his brand new car and he's drinking and not doing that. Things like that's going to happen. It depends on the kind of leadership that person's got around him, what kind of mentors, his parents, his coaches, all that good stuff. But there's going to be more positive come out of this than it is going to be negative. Players are not going to make it in the NFL, and they're going to use their NIL money and start a good business and something like that. So it's not going to be the end of the world. So talking about Prime for USC, I've watched a ton of Jackson games just because of him there on TV finally. Yeah, Yeah, and I have looked for him too. And you know what, Brian? I actually like that J logo they have. He brought in Brittany Reiner. Reiner, I think she's a lady that she got pregnant by one of the former University of Kentucky players that went on to play for the Charlotte Hornets, and she took him to the cleaners, bragged about it. He brought her in to talk to the players about Brittany Reiner. Brought her in to talk to the players about getting caught up into stardom and all that stuff, and getting swindled. But she really didn't say that much. She wasn't really a good speaker there, but he was just basically saying, this is what you need to look for. I think he's doing a good job. I think he only lost one game this year. We'll see how he plays out at Jackson. It's interesting there. It's a storyline to watch. But as far as winning big time, Brian said, and I like that J logo. I mean, it looks good. It looks like a brand new NFL franchise. It's so sharp, with that J right there. I think it's just fun to see something like that. I mean, it's something different. You've got one of the smaller HBC schools here. We have an HBC school here in Nashville. We got Eddie George at TSU coaching. Jeff Fisher's helping him out. There, Hugh Jackson was an assistant there and an advisor, and I think he's got his own job now as a head coach, former Brown there. So, some of the smaller schools, I went to the school that played TSU, the HBC school, TSU. I went to Austin Peay and graduated there. That was our rival school there. They were in OVC conference. So I'm excited about college football. I'm not scared about everything. I don't think it's going to be terrible. I think the coaches are going to have to get used to change. Change is life. You have to adapt and overcome in life. Technology scares people. You know what? Change is good. You got to get used to it. It's always, you cannot stop change. You cannot stop technology. That's my take on the whole NIL, the whole recruiting thing. And now you've got the SEC. They're combining. We're talking about 12-team playoff. It's just more fun to watch, Okay. All righty. Games to watch this weekend. One of the best games of the weekend, guys, other than, I guess the biggest story here would also be, let me go ahead and change out my time here. I guess another big story would be this COVID stuff and how many Browns are actually going to play. And I was going to make a big statement that this could be a blessing in disguise for the Browns, but it looks like Casey Keenum, like Baker Mayfield, and a few other key players, like 20, I want to say, Cleveland Browns have tested positive for COVID, but a lot of these guys, if not all of them, I think, are actually vaccinated. So the NFL needs to adjust their this policy. If you're vaccinated, again, if you feel fine, play. If everybody's vaccinated, just play the freaking game, man. So I don't know what's going to happen there with Cleveland. They're going to play tomorrow, the Raiders. They should be able to beat the Raiders even with 20 players out, if you ask me. You still got Myles Garrett's going to be out there. You still got Nick Chubb and those guys. David Njoku. So we'll see what happens there. But one of my favorite games that I'm looking forward to is going to be 7 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night, guys. The Patriots were going to be playing at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, remember, the Colts are coming off a bye, but so is New England. And the reason why I like the Colts in this game, other than the fact that it's on the road, it's at the Colts, and they've got Frank Reich coaching them, a guy who beat Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl. But you also got to look at one of the top rushing teams, the number one rusher in the NFL, Jonathan Taylor, 270 yards. It's going to be Saturday night, Pickles, that this team gave up against the Tennessee Titans. I know a lot of people is wanting to jump on the New England bandwagon. And, of course, Carson Wentz, yes, he could go in there and turn the ball over, and the Patriots can win. That could very much happen. Don't get me wrong. That could very much happen. But I just think that Taylor's going to get the football. They're going to be running the ball really well. They're going to do play action. I really like pending some kind of crazy COVID situation. I like the Colts to get the win here. And a lot of people are going to be talking about this Colts team. It said about not beating Belichick. I was like, quarterback Belichick, Carson against Belichick. Yeah. And that's what, if this were in New England, probably want to lean New England. The Colts are 2.5-point favorites at home here. Carson Wentz is the only reason. If they lose, it'll be a fumble by Wentz. It'll be a key turnover by Wentz. It'll be a mismanagement of a snap by Wentz where where they have to kick a field goal instead of get a go-ahead touchdown on the goal line. Those three things could happen. But if it's a clean game, both teams run the ball well, both teams get make their plays on third down, I think the Colts are just slightly better right now. But we'll see how it plays out. So, but if for whatever reason, if the Patriots win, which they could, they're red hot. I think they're 6 straight wins right now. Last game was the Dallas game. If they win and Tennessee wins, which, by the way, that's another big game. Tennessee's 1.5-point favorite against Pittsburgh. I like Tennessee to go up there and win this game. This time last year when Tennessee hosted Pittsburgh, Tennessee's pass rush was terrible. I like the weapons Pittsburgh had on offense. I like Pittsburgh in that particular game. Pittsburgh won that game. This particular game, I like Tennessee's off defensive line against the banged up and very young offensive line against Pittsburgh. Tennessee can get pressure with 4 down linemen. Plus, they're going to probably have former Steeler Bud Dupree back there at pass rush. And I like their ability with Deontay Foreman. He's not Derrick Henry, I know. And Julio Jones back to go off there and exploit that Pittsburgh secondary. I like Tennessee to win that 24-20. And, that would be one step closer. They would actually have the 1 seed. If they win this game and New England loses, I want to say Tennessee will have the 1 seed. If Tennessee wins this game and New England wins, Tennessee will clinch the AFC South. So this is a big game for Tennessee area fans here. Tennessee's getting healthy at the right time. Now, of course, Pittsburgh can win. I mean, you got T.J. Watt healthy. You got Ben Roethlisberger. You got a Hall of Famer there. They've had extra days to prepare. Of course, it's going to be a close game. That's why the odds makers only got it at 1.5, and it is in Pittsburgh, a 1.5 favorite there. And, of course, it could go to, and if Tennessee loses, New England or the Colts would be 1 game closer. And if they lose and the Patriots win, they're that much closer to clinching that 1 seed because, remember, the Ravens lost last week. So it's a lot to keep up with there. And, of course, the Ravens, they play Green Bay. Ravens have more injuries. But you know what? It's at Green Bay. But I'll say this. You've got Aaron Rodgers claimed to be playing with a bad toe. Well, you don't want to be playing with a bad toe with a team like this, as physical as the Baltimore Ravens, that likes to blitz. I think his name is Don Martingale, their defensive coordinator. He's the kind of guy that's going to find out how bad a toe you're going to have. So I like that game to be interesting. I think probably Green Bay wins because they're just simply the healthier team. They'll exploit that Baltimore secondary. But don't be surprised if something crazy happens. For instance, what if Baltimore knocks him out of the game? What if he injures a toe where he cannot go on? But we'll see. We'll see how all these games play out. That's going to be an interesting Green Bay should be able to play well against Baltimore. But you know what? I've seen Aaron Rodgers, Pickles. He was hopping around that game against the Bears. And Baltimore's a little bit different because he don't play Baltimore all the time. But if their offensive line holds up, yeah, he should be okay. But I can see one of these guys stepping on his foot and it not working out for him. And there's a chance that Lamar Jackson could play. But all that being said, it looks like Green Bay will probably smoke them if they play their game. And, you know, they play a clean game. I mean, that could be like a 34-17 kind of game. But it could be an upset as well, or Rodgers could get knocked out. So, you know, I would put a max protection on him. If, you know, maybe put A.J. Dillon in the backfield or something to protect Rodgers if the Green Bay Packers. And, of course, if you're Baltimore, you got to throw everything at the kitchen sink to win because you're going to be they may be a touchdown underdog time of the start of this game. Okay? All right, guys, if you like the show, share the show. I want to get back and watch the game. I know it's a good one. It's about the way I predicted it. I know Chris Jones, his absence is already being felt in this game. Kind of felt like that give the edge coming in. Going to give it to the Chargers. Last I checked, they were up 14-3. I don't know what they are now. But this game could get crazy. Could come down to the last possession. If you guys want to contribute to the show, go to the ZELLE app. And my email is the word sports and then another scope with a K, SKOPE @gmail.com. Enjoy the games this week, guys. And if you're up on Sunday mornings, tune into the Northeast Streaming Sports on Max Sports on Facebook, or the Northeast Streaming YouTube, live on YouTube. I'll be there around 7:30 a.m. Central Time with Jim Jeffcoat, former Dallas Cowboy, two-time Super Bowl winner, and Mac and Jack on their panel. And I'm sure we'll be discussing all this. Have a good night, everybody. YouTube, Brian, Pickles, everybody watching. Got a good audience tonight. Thank you, podcast.